completed two major techniques, ABC costing and target costing last classes. Today we'll be beginning with life cycle cost or life cycle costing. Now, what is life cycle costing? In short, I will be referring to it as LCC. Okay, life cycle costing, in short, I will refer to it as LCC. Okay, now it is a process of compiling all the costs that the owner or the producer of an asset will incur over its lifespan. Now, as you read the heading life cycle costing, right? So I'm going to check the birth and the death, right? In between, everything put together about a particular product or an asset, or it can be even a project. Got it? From its birth, that means from the purchase of raw material to the disposal of the product, everything put together, I'm going to analyze the cost of that particular product. Okay, so these costs include cost of acquiring, operating, supporting, and finally disposing. So the entire life cycle of a product I'm going to analyze and find out the cost as well as the revenue. Now, traditional costing, what does it do? It only focuses on cost of manufacturing. How can I lesser down or reduce the cost of manufacture? But here in this concept, you are looking at the entire life cycle, not just the beginning of the life cycle, but every stage of life cycle I am going to analyze the product. So here we have the life cycle cost analysis. There's initial cost, right? There's service cost, move to the right, okay? Then preventive or maintenance cost, and then we have the operation cost, and then we have the disposal cost. That means it's a one whole circle, right? All of you know the product life cycle, right? If you remember that graph, right? Quite similar to that, right? So from the initial cost to the disposal cost, we are going to analyze the product. Let's understand what are the various characteristics of life cycle costing. So it involves tracing of cost and revenues of a product over several calendar periods through its life cycle. Now, as I told, when I'm talking about traditional costing, I'm only talking about the initial stage. What is the initial stage? Manufacture of product, correct? Now, under life cycle costing, I am going to trace not only the cost of manufacture, but also the revenue I will earn in the future. Okay. Now, of course, this entire process when I'm analyzing, it doesn't happen within a week or 6 months. It can take years. Yes or no? I'm analyzing the life cycle of a product. So that can take calendar years. That's why it's called over several calendar periods through its life cycle. So that's the number one characteristic. It traces what? Cost as well as revenue of a product. Number two, it traces research, design, development cost and total cost for each individual product compared with product revenue. As I told, the cost and revenue not as a whole. I am conducting the cost and revenue in perspective of research and development, right? The design process, the development process of a product. At each stage, I am analyzing both cost as well as revenue. Each phase of the product life cycle poses different threats and opportunities that may require different strategic actions. Isn't that understood? Now, what is the price that you decide for your product in the initial stage? That is when you have just introduced into the market and when your product is booming in the market. Doesn't your strategies change? Yes or no? Doesn't your methodologies of production change? Marketing strategies change? That's what here life cycle costing also talks about. Every phase the product enters automatically the strategies that you implement, the decisions you make, the techniques you use will also change accordingly. Fourth, product life cycle may be extended by finding new users or by increasing the consumption of the present users. Now, no product life cycle is a fixed one. Now, because of technological changes, right, or cultural changes, or even the taste and preferences of consumers are changing day by day, the life cycle also may be extended. How can it extend? Maybe I find new users using my product, or I might increase the consumption of my existing users, right? If each person is purchasing one product of my company, now presently because of the situation in the economy, one person is demanding 3 products. That way the consumption of the present users is increasing. Okay, so that way the life cycle of the product will be extended either by finding new users or by increasing the consumption of present users. Got it? These are the 4 different characteristics of life cycle costing. Now let's in detail understand the stages of product life cycle costing. Number 1 is market research. Now everything starts with a research, right? The research or understanding the market. Now it will establish what product the consumer wants, how much he is prepared to pay for it, and how much will he buy. Definitely, right? When I'm talking about market research, I'm going to look into the products, consumers, markets, what is the actual need a person has, right? And how can I provide or meet that need, okay? And at what price shall I sell my product? And how much of quantity will that customer buy? This is called as market research, understanding the market. Market consists of people. That means understanding people's likes, dislikes, needs, wants or demands. Next is specification. That means I really need to be specific about like certain details, right? What is the life of the product, right? What is the maximum cost I can incur about a product, or what is the manufacturing cost involved? When should I deliver the product? What is the delivery date by which I need to sell the product? What is the exact expected performance of the product? All of these details I need to be very specific, because I cannot give a vague calculations and then calculate my cost. No. When I'm being very specific and certain, then it will be easy for me to analyze my cost and revenue. The third stage here is design. That is simply the drawings, or what you call it as you design the schedules, the production process, all those designs, you are getting it ready or keeping it in place. Stage 4 is prototype manufacture, right? Now what you have designed or kept it ready, now you're going to start manufacture in a sample, or I would say like a small quantity, 1 or 2 products you will just manufacture and check. Okay, it will be checked, and these initial quantity that you manufacture are called as prototype manufacture. So thus far you have researched, right? You understood what, where, how to manufacture, and in the 4th stage you have manufactured it, and you will observe and see, is there anything else that can be developed in this particular product. So the point is just repeated, okay? Next is development. Testing, development means, see, whatever prototype manufacture I have done that particular product, I am going to observe that, is there any other requirements, okay, to be made to the original product, right? So in this process, I am going to test the product, okay, and see if there's anything more to be developed. So when a product is made for the first time, of course there's going to be a lot of mistakes, errors or any kind of damage, right? So under this point, under the stage of development, it allows me to rectify my mistakes or errors and not repeat them in the next manufacturing process. Next we have tooling. Tooling up for production can mean like building a production line, godowns or factories or all the necessary tools and equipment, etc. Right? Now you have developed the product and now you want to manufacture it in not one or two quantity, but you want to manufacture it in a very large quantity. So you're going to make all the required tools available or ready. Next stage is manufacture. So finally, you're going to manufacture the complete product on a large scale. That is, you're going to purchase the raw materials, the components, you're going to include the labor, manufacturing expenses, the machine, everything, and then make the product or produce the product. And then we have selling. So once the product is ready or the product has been manufactured, you try to sell it in the market and then you distribute the products to various markets. And then we have product support. That means any kind of after sales services that you have, warranty or guarantee, or if it's a service oriented, what kind of services that you can provide to your customers or through your product service, etc. Right? And the last one is decommissioning. That means when a product has completed its purpose of existence, right? It has to be put to an end. Right? That means decommissioning means in simple disposal. Okay, disposal. That means once the manufacturing the product comes to an end or the usage of the product is exhausted, is completed, then that particular product or machine has to be come to an end. Okay, it has to be scraped or it comes back to some called as a residual value. You got it? So we started with market research and we have ended with decommissioning or disposal of a product or a project. Got it? Next, we're going to talk about the benefits of life cycle costing. Now here we are talking about the benefits or advantages of having the system in place. So what does it benefit? Number one, earlier action to generate revenue or lower cost. Right? Now if this concept was not there, what would we think of under traditional method? Only manufacture the product. Correct? Just focus on how to reduce the price of the product. We are not thinking about after selling the product, what is the effects or what are the consequences. We are not thinking about that. We are only focusing on the cost of manufacture. And here, one of the major advantages, I can take an earlier action. I mean to say a decision to generate revenue, right? Or to lower the cost. So the more pre-planned you are, it will benefit you in knowing your cost and ascertaining your revenues. The second benefit is better decision from a more accurate assessments of revenues and cost. Now here we are not just looking at the supplier economy of supplies or economy of prices. We are looking at the entire life cycle of a product. That means I am looking to the detail. We just looked at 11 stages of life cycle costing, starting from research of the market to disposal of a product. That means I am carefully assessing or accurately assessing the life cycle of a product. How does this help me? It helps me in making better choices or decisions for my company. Number 3, it can promote long-term rewarding, right? Now, as I told, this is a huge process. Life cycle costing is not simple as we just discussed about 11 steps. Now that has in detail a lot of procedure to be done. But then, even though it's quite long time consuming, it is definitely rewarding, right? The amount of reward or the amount of profits or revenues we can earn out of this concept is definitely beneficial for the company, because I'm looking at the pros and the cons of a life cycle of a product. Number 4, provides overall framework for considering total cost. So I know the whole picture of the product, right? When does it start? What is the process of manufacture? How are the consumers going to use the product or benefit from the product, and how will they dispose it? I have the complete picture of the product under life cycle costing. I'm not just bothered about how should I manufacture it, is my sales done, am I earning profits? No, I am looking about the entire picture or the entire framework of the product. And next we have life cycle process or life cycle costing process. Now here we have 3 processes. The number 1 is life cycle costing is, number 1 is planning. Now it's just what we have done before. It's described in 3 steps over here. The first one goes about planning. That means we are going to define what is the objectives in terms of outputs required, right, in order to assist the decisions that management make, right? What kind of asset we require, how much money do we require, that is budgeting. Every time we talk about finance, we're going to talk about how much budget is required for this, analyzing the life cycle of a particular product, right? We're going to identify what are the cost elements which act as the cost drivers. Remember, we studied under ABC costing. So we're going to study in life cycle what are the cost drivers, right, for an asset or for a product. That helps us focus on design, development, acquisition, or support efforts, right? So it also helps us to identify the conditions, assumptions, any kind of limitations, right? Tomorrow after the product is sold, what are the possible limitations the product might have, right? The constraints in the market in the midst of competition that we can have, right? So we're going to plan about the whole picture about the product. Stage 2 or the process 2 is life cost analysis preparation. Now here we are going to essentially, it's like acting as a tool, so which can be used to control and manage the ongoing cost of an asset. As I told, this subject is a combination of what? Management accounting as well as cost accounting. So under this process 2, I am going to look in detail what exactly or where can I cut down the cost, which means the controlling of cost. Third one is implementing and monitoring. That involves continuous monitoring of the actual performance. So often it happens, what we plan or what we expect out of the product might not be matching with the performance of the product. That is why under life cycle costing, we need to monitor the performance of the product continuously. That is, during its operation and the maintenance, to identify if there is any area in which the cost savings may be made. Okay, or in case there can be any feedback that we can provide for the future life cost planning activities. So for one product, if there is any error or damage or any mistake that we have incurred, we can give a feedback or take a feedback that we would not repeat that or pay more attention to a particular area of maintenance or support of a product in the upcoming product life cycles, right? Because every company is not going to have just one product, right? It can have product A, B, C, D and so on. So if there's any error that is happening with product A, we can take enough feedback or caution that it does not repeat for the other products. Clear? So that's about life cycle costing process. It's about planning, preparation and monitoring the life cost analysis. Clear to all of you? So with this we complete the concept called as life cycle